Hi, if you're running a small business online like I am, then you're going to need a way to manage your customer relationships and also have an email service provider. Software as a service email providers can get rather expensive, but there's another opportunity that you have for a WordPress based CRM, Customer Relationship Management. And we're going to talk about one today called Fluent CRM that not only has fields for you to manage your customer relationship, but it's also a really great email marketing automation system. And I want to show you a high level overview of that today. Hi, my name is William Beam with Suburbia Press, and what we do is we help small businesses, online entrepreneurs, understand the technology that powers their online business. The one that we're going to talk about today is a product called Fluent CRM. I am an affiliate, and you can get 20% off or 20% discount if you decide that this is something that you want to buy. And my coupon code is BEAM. I'll make sure that's showing up on the screen, and also it's in the description below if you decide this is right for you. So let's go ahead and take a look at what Fluent CRM is, what it does, and I'll have some follow-up videos diving into some specific circumstances, case studies, and things like that later on. All right, so right now we're on the Fluent CRM webpage, and as you can see, it's an email marketing automation system. And there are a number of things that you can do with it. So we're talking about campaign management, contact segmentation, a view of your contacts, their purchase history, and so forth. And of course, all of the email sequencing and marketing automation. We'll get into that and show you inside of the plugin what it looks like, and reporting. One of the things you look for when you're buying a system is to make sure that it works with other systems. So if you are using WooCommerce, for example, it works with WooCommerce as a plugin and also with easy digital downloads. If you're a course builder, it works with Lifter LMS, LearnDash, and Tutor LMS. If you're doing affiliate marketing, it has an integration with Affiliate WP. If you need to integrate with other plugins and systems on your WordPress environment, you have WP Fusion. You have Uncanny Automator, which is the one that I use, and also Automator WP. It works with Elementor if that's what you're using for your page builder. I'm using Gutenberg on my system. If you're running a membership or you're using a membership plugin to do other integration, it works with Wishlist Member. This is the one I'm using. Also with MemberPress, Restrict Content Pro, and Paid Memberships Pro. Fluent Forms is kind of a sister product. This company that's behind both of these is called WP Managed Ninja. They've been really great to work with for me. I've had a lot of good luck with them. So Fluent Forms, you get a basic light version in there so you can start working with some email opt-in forms. They also work with a company called Mail Opt-in. I use OptinMonster, and while they don't have a direct connection with OptinMonster, I have an article on my webpage that will show you how you can integrate OptinMonster to work with Fluent CRM. So I'll leave a link to that in the description below as well, too. Now, there are times when you need to integrate with something other than a WordPress plugin or system inside of your WordPress system. So it works with Zapier, Pabbly, Integromat, and Integrately. And I'm hoping I'm pronouncing those last two correctly. For example, I use ThriveCart, and it doesn't have a native integration with ThriveCart, and the webhook is not working exactly the way I want to. But Zapier, it's a more expensive webhook system. Integrately is much less expensive, and it works with both Fluent CRM and also with ThriveCart. So that's one of the things, when you're looking at these webhook connectors, make sure both of the systems that you need to work with are in each one. The nice thing is that since Fluent CRM is each of these, there's a good chance that you're going to find the other system that you need to automate inside of one of these tools. So some of the tasks you perform, obviously you can create your contact list, you can segment them, you can send emails, you can get email sequences, you can have automated funnels, which look kind of like this little workflow in here. And you can see that there's a bit of a yes-no kind of conditional logic. And basically you get reporting and you can see what's going on with your customers. And I want to show you that there are just a few things that you can do when we take a look inside of it. There is a version that you can install without it, without paying anything, but most of the power is going to be in the Pro product. And last but not least, hey, look, that's me right there, a happy customer on their front page. So why don't we go ahead and take a look at installing Fluent CRM. So this is a demo site that I've set up. We're going to go over to Plugins and Add New. And we can search for Fluent CRM. And here it is, our first choice. You can see that there's a lot of other things that work with it. So for example, if you use GamiPress, Automator WP, Uncanny Automator, as I mentioned, you can see I've already got that active on my system, and Automator WP Fluent CRM. So there's a couple of things. I'm going to install Fluent CRM, and the next we're going to come over here to this Fluent SMTP. This is a free system that makes it very easy to connect with different email sending services. So let me start off with the base plugin itself. Fluent SMTP is something that you're going to need because basically you don't send your emails through any email account on your web host. It would give you bad results. It might even get you shut down by your web host. You need to use a service kind of like Amazon Simple Email Service. There's other services out there that you can use. Even there's an integration now for working with Gmail. So let's go ahead and click Activate on here. And you see Fluent CRM is up here now. All right, so we're inside of the dashboard. You can see there's a little notice up here to get Pro. And quite honestly, you're going to want to get the Pro version of this. And as I mentioned at the beginning, I've got a coupon code. I'll put that in the links below. But you've got access to some things. We'll go ahead and take a look first, I think, at the settings. And you can put in your business information. So what's your name? And if you want to have a logo uploaded to show in your emails, you can have that set there. And then you go ahead and save your settings. You can keep on moving on down. And some of these things are going to let you put information in. Some of them are going to say you need the Pro version. So you can put in your from name. So in my case, it would be William Beam, and the email address, William at demo. Whatever I've got over here. This next reply to is optional. So you could have it sent from one address and name and reply to a different name and address. This maximum email limit per second depends upon the email service you're using. So for example, when you start off with Amazon AWS, you might be limited to 14 or 15 emails per second. If you've got a bigger plan or maybe another email service that takes emails faster, you can go ahead and update this here. This is something to keep in mind when you're selecting who's going to send your emails, is what speed limit do you have to send them emails. Another factor that limits what you can send is your hosting. So for example, if you have a small shared host, it's probably not going to send email all that quickly, versus if you've gotten a much larger system with more RAM and CPU and power and good bandwidth, then you can send your emails faster. This part over here with the footer settings, you can see that they have these little curly braces around. These are kind of little short codes. So your business name, which I established before, you've got this where you can decide, do you want to let people just unsubscribe altogether? Do you want to have multiple lists, which we'll talk about in a moment, where they can stay subscribed, but maybe unsubscribe from a specific list? So maybe they're not interested in a topic that you're emailing them about. Maybe they want to change from a weekly digest to a monthly digest. That's a possibility right here. I like having the ability for users to manage their email settings rather than just hitting unsubscribe. This is where you can decide what capability does your subscriber have to manage their own. So can they not manage anything? Can they only manage following lists? And do you want to set it where they can see all lists? I usually go for the second one because I will determine which lists they can or cannot unsubscribe from. And then, of course, we haven't built any list yet, but you can see that selection down here. So we're going to click Save Settings. We'll go to our general settings. Now, this is something interesting, is do you want to have the people who are registered inside of your WordPress environment synced up to be on your email environment? In this case, I'm going to say yes. And the reason I'm saying that is because I've got some dummy data for users that I want to import from WordPress into Fluent CRM. When a new user signs up, do you want to have them automatically create a contact? And do you want to have a comment form on subscription settings? So if someone leaves a comment, perhaps they could also be someone who signs in. And then when you click that, you see you've got a lot of options here as far as, what's it going to say? Subscribe to newsletter. You might think of something better. What list do you want to put them in? What tags do you want to associate with them? So as you click these boxes, other options open up. Custom contact fields are things that Fluent CRM didn't think about, but you know that you need. So for example, you can have a label. We can click Add New Field, and you can select what type of field it's going to be. Is it single line, numeric, and is it going to be a series of choices, multiple series of choices? And you can determine what kind of field you want to have information in your customer relationship management aspect of this tool. So when you're managing your customers, maybe there are some fields that you want that just simply didn't ship with the product, so you can add those here. Smart links are something I love. And you see here that you need Fluent CRM Pro. Essentially, a smart link is a URL that someone clicks on, and then it tells Fluent CRM that you can take an action. For example, I use these in the footer of my email. It's like, you want to learn more about this topic, that topic, another topic. When they click it, obviously it takes them to a web page, but it also updates a tag or a list inside of the contacts record in Fluent CRM, and it helps me build a profile on them. What are their interests? So when they click on something that indicates an interest, I want to update a tag, says, profile, interest in whatever. Double opt-in settings. This is what happens when you want to have somebody confirm their email before you start sending them something. So that way, somebody doesn't necessarily come along and give another person's email address as a way to prank them. If they have to confirm it, I think it's a good best practice. So what you can do is you can change the subject name, you can change the text that goes in here. One of the things that I actually wish is that I could do this more on an individual basis. So for example, if somebody signs in one lead magnet, I'd like to give them a different message than if they signed with a different lead magnet. But as it is, right now you have this opportunity where you can at least give a general confirmation, and then after they've confirmed, you can send them the detailed information for the lead magnet that you want. And once they've come through and confirmed, then you give them this little message that gets sent off to them, and it tells them, welcome, whatever you want to say there. These design templates change the appearance of how your emails get sent out. And there's an option for raw HTML. Sometimes people have their own template they want to put in, so you can import that into raw HTML. I tend to stick with either simple boxed or plain centered, but it's nice that there are some options kind of built in for you. Incoming webhooks. Again, this is a pro feature. Webhooks are a way of allowing different tools to communicate with each other. If you've ever used a service like Zapier, which we mentioned with integrations, it relies upon webhooks. So you're going to have to get Pro in order to do that. Managers is another pro feature. This lets you assign different roles within Fluent CRM to different people. And I think what we're going to do is go ahead and install the Pro version so I can show you what these look like. Okay, we're activated. Our license is in place, and we don't longer have the Get Pro over here. So let's go back and take a look at some things. So we talked about the custom fields. Smart links are now available to us. So we can click on Start Using Smart Links. You give it a name. This is the URL that you're going to visit. And then you can see here, you can either apply or remove tags and lists. And then, of course, you can put some notes in here. And I think these are wonderful. The double opt-in settings are going to be the same. Incoming webhooks. You can create a webhook. And basically, you give this a name. You decide what list or tags, if any, you want to apply. And you select a status, pending or subscribed. Pending is the double opt-in status. In other words, if you bring somebody in through the webhook, in pending, then they will get the message sent to, please confirm your email. And once they do that, then they change to subscribed. If you set this webhook as subscribed, they won't have to confirm anything. They will just automatically be on your list. So keep that in mind when you're building your webhooks. We talked about managers, so this is what we have here. We can click Add New Manager. So you can put in the email address of one of your managers, and then you check the boxes of what permissions they want to have. And that way you can determine who can do what. And just give them, do they have access to the dashboard? Can they read or do read and write on some of these things? So they're just something to, if you work with a team, it kind of helps you manage who has permission to what. Under Tools, notice here there is a REST API status. This is a critical service that your host needs to provide. So if you don't have REST API provided, talk to your host to see if there's something that you can enable. And if you have problems, one of the first things I would do is I would look at the tools and say, is the REST API working or not? Same thing with a cron job. You've got to have something that triggers your emails and automations. You need to have something that triggers your emails and automations to work. Typically, we do this with an external service because sometimes the server-side cron jobs are not as reliable. The WordPress cron job is the one I would avoid. There is a site called cron-job.org, I believe. I'll see if I can put a link to that in the notes below too. And that just basically means check every so often so I can send emails, so I can run an automation. And it's kind of how you keep time with inside of your system. This one with a red, be very careful of. Basically, do you want to delete and reset all of your data? And then down below, you can clean up data that you don't need. Do you need to keep email history logs, click logs, open logs? And it's by default, it's set for anything older than 30 days gets deleted. You can change this. This is something that we'll go over in a future video, but they have a tool that's free. It's called Fluent SMTP, and it allows you to integrate with different services. So I'm using Amazon SES on most of my stuff, and it works with any SMTP provider. And it will also work with different tools besides FluentCRM. So that's the nice thing about it being free. And of course, if you have Amazon SES, they have something called a bounce handler. So this is a URL that you would put inside of your Amazon SES bounce handler. And of course, down here is the license management. We just went through that. All right, so let's go down further over here. Let's take a look at contacts. So you start off without any contacts at all. You can go ahead and click Add. You can import if you have, for example, a CSV file that maybe you were working with ConvertKit or another tool. You can save those users out and then just import them here. So if you click Add, you're going to get a form like this, and then you can basically add someone manually. Also notice up here where it says Contacts, you're going to see not only your contacts, but this is how you get to your lists, your tags, and your segments. So let's say that we click on Lists and create list. Basically, a list is a group of people who are interested in a topic. So you can give it a title. The slug is just what it calls it in WordPress. It'll make that automatically for you. And then if you need something over here, let's see. That S just does not want to go. Test list. We'll create confirm. And now we've got 0 subscribers in here, but you can go and add people into this. So when we've seen some of these things like, do I want to add somebody to a list? I'd say, yes, I do. I want to add them to my test list. I want to add them to my subscribers who opted in based on lead magnet A, for example. You can build lists for those different purposes. Tags are information that describes something about your contact. So lists are what you use to send emails out. It's very easy to just say, hey, I want to tell everybody interested in this topic about something new. Hopefully they're on a list. You can just go ahead and email them. Tags, however, are more for your historical information. So I've got a blog post on how to create tags. I will also try to link that in the show notes below. And it's the same thing. You can put in test tag, and it's just metadata. So that tag could be profile information, interested in software, interested in hardware, whatever kind of information you want to know they're interested in. It could also be a status tag, where they are within an automation. It could be a history tag, things that they've done interacting with your system or service. So there's a lot of information, and it's too much to go on in this video, but we'll take a look at that. Now, dynamic segments are very much like lists. So you can see there's one by default, WordPress users. And when you create one, you do it based upon conditions. So you give it a name up here, and then let's say, do you want to search by everybody named Bob? That's a condition you can search on. And you can say, where are they, the subscription status, the source from where they subscribed, when were they created, when was their last activity data. So let's say that someone hasn't been active within 30 days. They haven't opened an email. They haven't clicked a link. This will be an automatically updated list. And then you can go ahead and make them part of your cleanup process. Hey, I noticed you haven't done anything with us in 30 days. Are you still interested? Click here if yes. And if nothing happens, you could put this as part of a automation perhaps, and then just delete them off your list if they're not paying attention. So that's the nice thing about dynamic segments is it's automatically built for you. You don't have to just keep adding people. It can also automatically remove people if they no longer fit the conditions. Your campaigns are basically your email broadcast, another way to put it. So this is a single email that goes out to a list of your audience. And you can just go ahead and start writing here. And notice over here these templates. So you can see how it kind of changes. The ones over here where it says simple box, there's white here and there's a little off white over there. If I do it this way, it just shows white everywhere and it's just centered. The classic one moves everything over to this side. And of course the raw HTML is HTML. So you can put whatever formatting you want in there. And it's just whatever you like. And then if you click on use email templates, you can create some and leave it in there. We'll leave that alone for right now. So there's different stages. You start off composing, and whatever you want to have in here, you can put something in. If you type the @ then you get different little shortcuts. So let's say that I want to come up and say, hi, first name. Hi, comma, @ and then first name. And there's also commands in here where you can do kind of a fallback if you don't have a first name. So you might go in there and say, if there's nothing like that, you put in a pipe and say, hi there. And you've just got different little things, so you can put those ideas in here. This is pretty much like a Gutenberg editor. So if you hit the / key, you will see that you can put in images, you can put in headings, lists, buttons, and so forth. It does not work with third-party blocks. The blocks that you see here are the only ones you have. So if you want to have a button, you can click that. And then, of course, over here on the block settings, you can say, do you want it filled? Do you want it in an outline? You can change the color and just add a few different things. And you say, do I want to open a new tab? You know, since it's going on someone else's computer, I don't know why that matters, but maybe it does. Anyways, it's a very easy editor to work with. I like it, and it does everything I need to do. I am of the opinion that you don't want to get too fancy with your emails because that way they don't look like the usual commercial spam that goes out. So once you're ready with that, you click Save, and then you can go ahead and continue. And let's give it a subject. This email pre-header is something that kind of shows up inside of their email client before they open it. I back up a step, email A/B test heading. So let's say that you've decided that you're not sure which subject's going to work best. You can say what you had here before. And then you can go ahead and add another one. And then you can also give it a weight. Is this evenly divided? And you can have more than just 2 in here. I don't know how much split testing you want to do, but the opportunity is there if you want to. And you can set a custom name. You can add UTM parameters. This is the important one to me. I always like to send a test email to myself so I can see it, I can check the links, and make sure everything works before I go ahead and click. So we go to the next step, and this is where you decide, who am I going to send it to? Of course, I don't have any contacts right now, but you can say all available subscribers. If you have different lists over here, like this test list, you can decide who you're going to send it to. And same thing with tags. So you say, these are who you include, these are who you exclude. I don't want the email to go to someone on this list. Typically, I don't work that way. My stuff is, who do I want to include? And then I don't worry about excluding anything. And then you go over to your next step. And of course, it doesn't work because I don't have any subscribers. But basically, your next step is where you review it, and you can either send it immediately or you can schedule an email to go out at a specific time. This is typically what I do for, let's say, a weekly or monthly update, or maybe if I have a marketing campaign that maybe I've got an affiliate product and I can't send anything off until the date that they lift the embargo, so I'll schedule everything up front, and then I schedule it in advance to send out when the embargo lifts. Email sequences are a little bit different. So this is going to be a collection of emails. And so we'll add a sequence over here. And it's the same thing. You write a sequence. So I'm going to save myself a little bit of time here. And that way I've got my subject, I've got a pre-header, I can have a sending time range. I can only deliver on specific days. So for example, maybe I want to only send these on Wednesdays and Thursdays. You can go ahead and check this, and it'll show you which days of the week that you're allowed to send emails. The delay is how soon from the first email does the next email go out. And it says here, from the starting date. I got tripped up on this one. I created a sequence, and I thought I want to send each one of them 2 days apart. So let's save this one, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. And now I want to add another sequence email. So this one is going to be second. And I want this to go out 2 days after I started. So I'll save that. I'll go back to the sequence. So you can see now I have 2 emails. And let's do one more. I want this one to go out 2 days after the second one. But I don't click just 2 because that means it'll go out the same day as the second one. Instead, I click 4 because it's coming from the starting date. And that's the thing that you need to remember with the delay. It's not how many days since the last email you sent, it's how many days since the first email you sent. So we'll go back to the sequence. Now, if we add somebody to a sequence, they'll get this one right away. They'll get this one 2 days later. It says after 2 days. They'll get this one 4 days after I sent this first email. So that's the important thing about sequences. It's a nice way to drip content out, but just keep in mind when you send it is based upon when you started. And then, of course, you'll see stats over here. When people get this, you'll see how many you've sent, a percentage that opened, a percentage that clicked, and a percentage that unsubscribed. Forms I don't want to get into too much because they have Fluent Forms integration. That's a different product. It is kind of nice that you've got something there, and they give you some basic templates that you can use. You give it a title, add to list, and whether you want the double opt-in, and then you can go ahead and create a form. We'll have some future videos about different opt-in forms. And the last thing I want to talk about is automations, and this is just really cool. You can have automations based upon different things. So WordPress triggers, if I click this, like when a new user signs up. I happen to have wishlist member installed. So when a member gets added to a membership, that can trigger something to start an automation. And CRM would be something that's within Fluent CRM. So if someone gets applied to a list, then you can have an automation that starts off. Same thing if they get removed from a list, a tag's applied, removed, or if there is a new submission from Fluent Forms. So we'll just give this a little name over here. So in this case, we have it set up. There's my name. It's with Fluent CRM. When someone gets applied to a list, this will run when the selected lists have been applied to a contact. So we'll go ahead and click Continue. So now that we have this, you've got this little plus button over here, and you have 3 things to look at: actions, benchmarks, and conditions. An action is something that happens. So for example, let's say somebody got added to the list. Do you want to send them a custom email? Do you want to add them a sequence of emails? Do you want to cancel a sequence of emails? And so on down the line. You can apply tags, you can remove from lists, you can update a contact property, or you can just end the funnel. Benchmarks are events. So in other words, the automation is waiting for an event to happen. So in this case, list applied. When the user is applied to the list, that's the benchmark that will trigger this. You might need to wait for someone to click a link. So somewhere in the automation, you send them something, you want them to click a link, and we say, so you give the address where you want them to go, and there will be a link over here that you're going to paste inside of your email that you send them. So is it an optional one or is it an essential one? Let's say essential. Sometimes we found that you have to save it and then go back in order to get the URL that you're going to send to them. So this is what I'm going to put inside of an email that I send to somebody, and it's going to send them basically to the home page of this demo site. So we can save that. And then say once they click it, you might want to say one of these conditions. Are they applied to a tag or not? And this is one of those cases where I probably should have put some tags in here, but the idea is the conditional will give you an option, yes or no. So if he has the tag, then you can decide what you want to do. If he doesn't have the tag, Maybe you want to apply the tag to them if they don't have it and then take some actions. If you may want to skip this if they do have the tags, or you may want to end the funnel right there. And then either way, they all come back together here. So you can continue doing more actions or look for more benchmarks or even add more conditions to your funnel based upon those conditions. And what I hope you're going to find is there is an incredible amount of power inside of Fluent CRM. One of the other advantages is GDPR support. When you look at the requirements for GDPR, you are responsible for managing your customer data. If you use a software as a service, you're uploading your customer data to somebody else and you depend upon them. That's not really true GDPR management. When you are responsible for storing and maintaining your customer data, that's GDPR compliance. So when you're working with a WordPress CRM, you're having a stronger hold on your customer data. You can manage it, you control it, you know where it is, and other people are not getting into it unless they're part of your organization and you've already vetted them. So that's something to keep in mind when you're looking at a tool like Fluent CRM. As I said, I really like this. I use this on my sites, and I will have more videos coming up on some things we can go into, a bit of a deeper dive on how to use Fluent CRM. Again, I have a coupon code. It is my last name, BEAM, B-E-E-M. It will give you 20% off of whatever purchase you decide to make. So if this is something that's right for you, please go ahead and take a look. You can get the free version to look around first for free. And of course, there is a money-back guarantee with Fluent CRM. So take a look at all those details. And then if you decide to use my coupon code and save some money, I get a little bit of a commission. You save 20%. So hopefully that's a win deal for all of us. If you like this video, please go ahead, click subscribe and like the video. That lets YouTube know we did something right. And if you subscribe, you'll get notified if you click that little notification bell icon the next time I have a video come out. Thanks so much. I'll see you in the next video.